All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Stone. Shalom to the elect pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. We over to see the mercy of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yahweh is the name of the living Father. Yahushai is the name of his only begotten Son. These so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites according to the prophecies that are written in the scriptures. Making known that RFID microchip is the MOTB. The serpent uses the precursor to the MOTB. The Yahushai, whom dwelling in called Jesus, is about to make his return upon the earth to deliver his elect and to pour out judgment as it is written. So I want to go straight into this lesson concerning the time of great deception and great confusion. And this is not going to be a long video, but certain times you see certain things, you can see where it's leading up to, because he's going to use a lot of deception to manipulate the minds of the simple to come against his servants, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm going to this lesson right here. Because if you're looking on the prophecies that Yahushua declared to his disciple at the Mount of Olives, and told them that these are going to be the signs before his coming. And we have seen these signs, and them escalate even more rapidly as I talk to you right here, such as earthquakes, famines, various pestilence. I don't even have to give you examples. You of yourself have been in the demic recently. You heard about various earthquakes that shake Japan, or shake Philippines, shake Venezuela, or shaking in the Caribbean in recent weeks. I want to even go as far as to say, today there are a report of an earthquake shake. I want to remember exactly. I don't want to even lie to you. If it comes to thought, I might just do a video on it. If it comes to thought, I'll bring it all back. But today I have an earthquake shake. So the prophecies are come to pass even more rapidly than before. And these all are birth pains, So I want to read this precept. This is 2 Thessalonians 2. I'm going to start at verse 8. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, which is now, which the prophets are doing. And all the prophets are doing that by pulling down strongholds, where our adversary, the devil, which is Esau, Edom, so-called Caucasian, have cast illusion over the minds of our people and illusion over the minds of the people of the world. But we're mainly focusing on you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because this word is for. So we are pushed forward this word, and the word, which is the water, living water, as Scripture says, out of your belly, which is your mind, shall flow rivers of living water. This water is going to cleanse the minds of our people to stop believing in these illusions, these religions, which is a stronghold over their minds. And another thing which this word are going to do is reveal the wicked, which is Esau, Edom. You're going to see more clearly by us going out there and by things where the devil are doing on the earth right now. Because there are people who don't even understand the scriptures can see that this man is the devil, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Talking about when Yahweh send Yahushai to deliver his elect and bring forth judgment upon this earth. Even him whose coming is after the workings of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. You see? Lying wonders. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, and Esau a work upon various manipulation tactics for to believe you. He might work upon the minds of the simple. That's why in 2 Corinthians 4 verse 3 say, if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not. Because this is what Esau come after you on the mind. Because once them grab in the mind, them can't feed on anything. That's why they want to put that chipping on the head. Because Esau wants to even control even your thought process. Verse 12, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. A majority of the inhabitants of the earth have pleasure in unrighteousness. The so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you have pleasure in unrighteousness, in wickedness. And when you're reading now, I want to say 2 Timothy 3, when it tell you about this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And then below that verse, it start tell you about various characteristics of individuals that are going to dwell upon the earth in those times. All them are going to be proud, heady, trust breakers, you see me? False accusers, you see me? Lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Boasters, proud, covetous. And when you look upon the earth, just sit back and look. This is how people are right now, mainly with these various social media platforms. It is more evident than before. So right now, them have pleasure in the unrighteousness of this world. But Esau feed them, Verse 13, but we are bound to give thanks always to God for you, brethren, beloved of the Lord, because God had from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and the belief of the truth. And this is what we believe in, And Yahweh Shemiah shall open our minds to believe the truth. So I want to play this clip for you, to see what Esau is planning.
All right, well, the World Health Organization is using AI to track us all. They announced this recently. We went over this yesterday, but what does this mean exactly? Are we safe as Americans because Trump withdrew from the WHO? Isn't this the power that we rejected them to have in the pandemic treaty? Or are they casually just saying, okay, we don't get the treaty, we're just going to take all the power we want in piecemeal? Well, joining us to discuss is James Roguski. He is the author of Screw the Who, and the one person I wanted to talk about when I saw this. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you think they're playing at?
Well, first of all, thank you for covering this issue, because a lot of these things slip through the cracks. The Epidemic Intelligence from Open Sources program actually started in 2017. So they're just up to the same old tricks. It's the same thing from the WHO all the time. They actually claim that this artificial intelligence observation of the media identified the Wuhan lab leak early in at the end of 2019. They claim that by monitoring all of social media and media, they can identify things that are happening as soon as possible. Now, on one level, what we did, we, meaning people like you, people like me and others around the world, we paid attention to news reports of people who were doing things that were not officially approved. We learned that maybe someone was trying hydroxychloroquine or trying ivermectin. And what we did is we looked at that and we said, well, our analytics of that intel tells us that that makes more sense than what the government is telling us. So what we're dealing with the epidemic intelligence from open sources AI program is not so much that they're gathering all this information. You can go on Twitter or X and see that there's a trending hashtag. You can see that there's news stories going on. The point is, how do they do? One of the things that they have is the news article credibility detection system. And they also have the misinformation classification systems. They want to use AI to lie to us. If they get information off of our social media posts, they know how to tamp it down. They know how to turn their propaganda machine against what is actually the truth that is out there.
Can I just put this on the screen and you can respond to this? They have been warning since 2020 about infodemics, which they describe as an overabundance of information, even accurate information, which makes it hard for people to adopt behaviors. So they can't get you to do things if you get true information. So what you just mentioned, was it hydroxychloroquine or any information about masking that they wanted to tamp down, or information about herd immunity or vaccine requirements, anything like that. So please go on, because I think that this is a terrifying idea that they need to manage even accurate information.
Well, this is the whole point. I mean, I got a report from a friend in Finland who, they are still pushing back against the use of the fraudulent use of the PCR process as a quote unquote test. And so what we dealt with over the last now almost 6 years is lie after lie after lie from the news media. And people need to understand that for the most part, what things like Grok and ChatGPT and Claude and all of the other AI agents, they just simply collect the propaganda from the news media, regurgitate it as truth. And I can't tell you how many times I have come face to face, beating my head against a brick wall. If you ask ChatGPT a question where you have factual information and you watch it lie to you, or say, well, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question because I'm not allowed to spread quote unquote misinformation, you realize that AI is being used as a tool to further the propaganda machine. Now, right. What they could use this system for, they're not going to. But what they could have used this system for, knowing and understanding that it started in 2017 and it got, a big push from the German government. They donated like $30 million to set up the hub in Germany to start writing all the software programs and making it so that every nation and organizations around the world can use this. What they could have done is they could have used it to identify all the reports from people who said, well, we're having adverse reactions to the jabs, where people are dying, people are suffering. They could have used artificial intelligence to observe social media and stop the pandemic that we are currently still in the middle of with the mRNA jabs harming people. But instead,
because James, they wouldn't have done that. Because many of those accounts were banned. If they were on Facebook and they were talking about the problems they were having, or if they were in groups talking about women who are having all sorts of trouble with menstruation after they received the jab, those groups were banned and censored. So they wouldn't have been able to pull that information because it was all, hidden and pushed away from us, right?
Exactly, and again, I want to compliment you and thank you for bringing this issue up. But people need to understand that this is just a new version. This is just 2.0 of their EIOS system. Their system was operable from 2017 until now, and what they did is they've proven that it works because they could have identified the epidemic of adverse events and deaths from the biological weapons that they, have implemented on us. But obviously it did not do that. It labeled all of that truth as misinformation. The organizations, all the social media groups, banned all those accounts, just like you said. They could be reporting on the pandemic of adverse events from drugs. They could be reporting on all of the people's reports around the world about a million things. But what they're doing is actually set up a pandemic simulator. It's been hard to get information. If I get anything on it, I'll share it with you. They essentially have a dashboard where they can simulate a pandemic and learn how to tamp down, the truth that we, the people, are good at putting out there. And so what I want people to understand is we can and should be using this type of information, these type of information resources to identify the truth that is out there. It is getting more and more difficult, but what we did over the last 6 years, and I want people to get a
as I say, these are going to be the tools he's going to use to further his agenda. It going to reach a stage where he's going to look on the things I'm going to post online for push forth my agenda of pre-crime. So, might be capable of committing this crime or that crime just by things on the post. Because we're in the age of when everybody have a digital footprint. You cannot escape what's to come. And you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you're still in la land, not understanding that your adversary, the devil, is about to come down on you having great wrath, as it is written in Revelation, because you know that you have but a short time. That's why out here in Jamaica, them talk about Vision 2030. So I'm fast track a lot of things right now. So you can go and live in a la land and have this normalcy bias, feeling like things will get better. But things will become way more chaotic than you can ever imagine. That's why it's written in I want to say 2 Corinthians 8 verse 50 said, many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell upon the earth, because they have walked in great pride. So now people now listen to us because we are the poor man, which is scripture says the poor man wisdom is despised. We're not the nobles in societies, we're not the scientists, we're not the politicians. Yahweh Shemi Shai rise up the lowly to come before the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans to declare the end of this age and the salvation of the nation of Israel and the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai. But who give a ear? As the scripture says, those over here to hear, let them hear. So with that I want to say Kalalal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Akal Kodash. Shalom.